Welcome to the Sports Hangover. I'm Michael Benatar, joined alongside Dawg.
Mike, it's good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving week. People are traveling. We're on both coasts. This is like the old days. Florida and California represent.
Yeah, it's just like the old days. If you want to see those videos too, they're on YouTube, youtube.com/sports hangover. We are now entering our 14th year of the Sports Hangover. 14 years ago, we started the Sports Hangover during Thanksgiving
How is this
week.
possible? During Thanksgiving week? Are you serious?
Yeah, so this is like we're going into our 14th year. We're ending our 13th year. We've been doing it a long time. You had a full head of hair.
Yeah.
When we started.
Who were the quarterbacks? Was like Jake Plummer throwing touchdown passes at that time? Was Dan Marino in the league still?
We had a lot of Tim Tebow talk at the time.
Tim Tebow was good for ratings. For First Take and Us, Tim Tebow was really good for ratings. And one of my favorite stats, mutual friend loves this one. Tim Tebow has more playoff wins than a lot of great quarterbacks like Andy Dalton, more than certain quarterbacks like Robert Griffin III that came through. Tim Tebow beat the Steelers in the playoffs. One of my favorite things of the last 14 years.
So Jeremy, you didn't watch a lot of football. You were traveling. Travel on Sundays. You get to miss a lot of games. Was your airplane equipped with any live TVs?
Oh, I flew on Saturday. I was in Miami with family on Sunday. I drove by the Dolphins game. I wasn't allowed to go. I recommended it to the family, but it was my mom's birthday, so we definitely couldn't step foot inside the game. But I saw the stadium where the Dolphins were playing.
Okay. All right. So didn't go in. Miami played yesterday. I feel like nothing really stood out. There was like key things. We're in our contest. You're doing really well. The Browns beat the Steelers, the Browns beat the Steelers. Lions almost lost to the Bears. It was like I was like watching, but also doing stuff.
What stood out to you in that early window? Because I completely missed the early games, 10 o'clock your time. I'm back on the East Coast, so they didn't even start till 1. So I was like, I had hours to set my lineup. That was crazy.
I think the game that really stood out, I think it was the Lions and Bears. I was surprised how good the Bears were. Justin Fields is back. They almost beat the Lions. The Lions came back to win them in the last few seconds of the game. I think that was like the most exciting part of it. But the other ones were like, we kind of saw it. I think the Rams-Seahawks game was a little close too, a little weird. Ended on 1 point.
You like that because you were on the Rams side of that. It wasn't looking good for a long time. You've been fading the Seahawks, which I'm glad you're not wearing your Seahawks shirt today. You've worn it like a few weeks in a row, and you keep fading them. So you wear it and then bet against them. But yesterday, on Sunday, the Rams came back and won somehow.
They did win, and it was weird too because like Geno Smith got hit really hard. I don't know if he's going to play this week. He's going to obviously go into some of the picks.
They play in a few hours on Thanksgiving night. Yeah. You'll be in your comatose state, but Geno is expected to be out there slinging against the Niners.
It's just a weird week. And then we didn't talk about, during the Thursday night game, me and you were at Topgolf. We were playing Topgolf, and the Joe Burrow injury happened. And I think that basically set up the AFC to be now, I think, maybe won by the AFC North, won by Cleveland Browns. Because I don't know if Pittsburgh's actually going to be in the mix. But it does look like Cleveland is a real team, and that DTR, Dorian Thomas, something was okay. He played well, and the defense of Cleveland is really good. So I don't know how our mutual friend feels right now.
He doesn't feel good. They're 6-4, and they don't feel good. They're not that good. The Steelers are not that good of a team. You can't lose to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Let's talk about the division for a minute because we were together on Thursday night. We were swinging the golf clubs. You got some work to do, Mike. Your golf swing.
I know.
I don't know. You're having some trouble getting it off the ground. We can break that down later in the show too.
No, I am bad. I stopped even trying years ago. It was just never fun. And I feel like that's why Topgolf is perfect for somebody like me. Like we played an Angry Birds game on Topgolf, beat you guys with the Angry Birds game. You don't have to be skilled at Topgolf. When we go golfing for 4 hours, I have to actually hit the ball and walk and go keep grabbing my ball and hit it 55 times to get it into the hole.
Mike, this is a perfect parallel to the AFC North because the Browns don't have to be that good to win the division, apparently. They really don't. They can be just like you. They can have ugly swings, and their ball will find the hole and win a game because that's what happened. It was 13-10. Thoughts and prayers to anyone who watched that whole game. If you were a fan of those teams, that couldn't have been very watchable. But you're right. Thursday night, it all started with the Ravens and the Bengals, and it's a damn shame what happened because we lost 2 of the best players in the NFL in one night, Joe Burrow and Mark Andrews, 2 guys from the same division, 2 guys on 2 certain playoff teams you would think, and now we're without them. The Bengals, they're my Super Bowl pick. As Sportstradamus, it sucks to lose Joe Burrow, my Super Bowl pick in week 11. That sucks.
Well, this was going to be later in the show, but I did have the AFC power rankings of teams that could potentially be there in the Super Bowl. I have KC at the top right now, right? KC's number 1. I think they're the best team overall, but I have a few others. And I know it's a weird thing. It's a very conspiracy theory. This is for the show. But you know how the colors of the logo every year match up weirdly with the teams, even though they
For
set
the
these.
Super Bowl logo.
Yeah, the Super Bowl logo.
Yeah, I saw
And
this.
isn't it this year like a weird purple and a red together or
Yeah,
something like that?
Ravens 49ers maybe.
Could be Ravens 49ers. So I don't know.
Chiefs Vikings maybe.
These are the power rankings I have. You tell me if I mean, obviously the Bengals are no longer in it. So I had the Bengals in there. This is when I did it last week. But we have a few teams that I feel like are here, but might not be here for long. Like I have Baltimore at number 2. I have Miami, and I feel like I'd put in like, is it Steelers / Cleveland and then the Bills? Or how would you do that?
I think the Bills are being written off prematurely. I know they have a tough schedule coming up. I don't dislike Josh Allen like you and our friends dislike Josh Allen. Okay. I think he is pretty good. He's actually, despite all the nonsense going on the field, losing some games, Josh Allen is the number 1 fantasy quarterback in fantasy football this year. So he's getting the stats, he's getting the yards. He's just not winning the games. And maybe we need to widen the scope and look at the Bills team and their coaching staff. They fired the offensive coordinator. They scored over 30 points yesterday without him. And so things might be going in the right direction. I think the Bills might still get in despite a tough schedule. If the Browns and Steelers, I think no one should win that division unless it's the Ravens at this point. It has to be the Ravens, because the idea of watching the Browns or Steelers in a playoff game makes me uncomfortable. It makes me nauseous even. The idea that anyone would have to sit through that game with commercials and the whole thing, like there's no multi-games going on at that time. You can't avoid it. So it has to be the Ravens. The Dolphins only beat bad teams. We've clarified that. They didn't even cover against the Raiders. I had them to cover. They couldn't even get going on offense again. I'm worried about the Dolphins staying power, but I'll say this. This is crazy. Only 5 quarterbacks, Mike, in the NFL have been healthy all year long, start to finish. Tua is one of the 5, which is insane when you look around the league. And Joe Burrow is another example. Like, we have a quarterback problem. We've been saying it on this show, and it's really true right now.
I think Tua has been a little smarter, hasn't been running much. I did see him run. I watched the game.
Run and fumble.
He was running.
Don't fumble.
He almost like didn't know what to do. It's like, should I fumble the ball? Should I land? Should I do something? You just got to stay still, throw the ball. You got a lot of talented guys out there. But yeah, it's a weird division, because it's like we know the good teams, but these bad teams sneak in all the time. And I think that's kind of a weird situation. And also, I was just reading this. There was a new word added to the dictionary, and it was called chargering. To lose a game with late game mistakes or poor coaching or whatever it is, the Chargers always lose. And I think this was like officially added to the Chargers are bad. And I don't think they're going to make it. It's just been like we're gambling on it, and you're watching all these games and like, what is going on? And it's almost like, Vegas is so good. I don't know what they do, but they know. It's like, oh, just put it on a 1 on this game. It's like definitely going to end. All the games have been ending within the Miami game. No, which game was it? One of the games they played well, but didn't. Oh, it was the Denver game. The Denver game.
Yeah, the Vikings covered, right? The Denver came back and won. Russell Wilson was cooking. They come back and win, yet the Vikings still find a way because the Broncos went for 2. That's what it came down to at the end. They're up 1. They went for 2 to push it to 3. We were on two different sides of that. You keep fading the Seahawks and Josh Dobbs, 2 things that I thought you loved, that you love betting against, apparently. And they both letting you down. The Seahawks barely let that game go. But
when I was watching that, I'm like, okay, they have to go for 2 here because of the field goal, and if they get back, they couldn't even. It seemed like Russell didn't even know what to do with the ball when he was handing it off. They end on 2. The line was 2.5. You needed the 3. That's just how it falls. It's like, I think it's also when you're betting on these rookies or these guys are coming in on a new system, you're betting with the expectation of, they don't know the full playbook. They don't have a 2-minute drill set already. They don't know in these situations. But again, I bet on Russ, and that was the problem. But
I don't like that decision for you. So you watched that game last night. Who was a better quarterback in that game?
I mean, Dobbs is more dynamic. Dobbs is good. But I did have a bullshitter believe. If you want, I mean, my bullshitter belief was basically, what was it? Is Russ cooking again? Because everybody thought he was cooking. All these memes. I'm in a thread with Josh, and he's a big Denver fan. He's like, cooking memes, all this
stuff.
Play
your music, Mike. If you're gonna say it.
All right, here. Bullshit or believe time. Bullshit or believe time. Bullshit or believe. Everybody thinks he's cooking. Bullshit or believe is Russ cooking again.
We need to stop saying that just because the Broncos are winning games that Russ is cooking. Because if you watch, and I watched last night because it was Sunday Night Football and it was the only game on, so I was watching. And I watched last week too against Buffalo, and Russ wasn't cooking in either game. They may have won both games, but Russ wasn't cooking. The kitchen was closed. The staff was off. The hot burners were not working for him. There's nothing cooking in Russ's kitchen right now. And I say that because they beat up on the Bills. The Bills were having so many problems with their offense, with Josh Allen. Diggs is yelling at him. The Bills beat themselves in that game. And again, last night, the Vikings played better. Dobbs played better than Russell Wilson. You can't tell me Russ is cooking if a guy who's been traded 3 times this year, Josh Dobbs, is playing better than him. Both things can't be true. Russ isn't cooking. I know they're winning games. It's great. They're 5-5. They're not on your power ranking list. They're not on my divisional winning radar. They're not on my playoff picture. I'm not worried about the Broncos.
Do you think Sean Payton's pissed that he doesn't have Josh Dobbs playing for him? Because Josh Dobbs played like Russ played 10 years ago and is running around, throwing the ball, scrambling.
For a fraction of the price. They're paying Russ so much money, and Dobbs is like on the veteran minimum, probably less than $1 million a year.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if the Russ cooking thing is getting out of hand, but it was definitely like, come on, guys. You guys are not going to the playoffs. Like, there's no way you're getting through KC or Buffalo or anything like that. But
no, they beat the Chiefs a few weeks ago. That was kind of fluky, kind of weird. The Chiefs should be back to normal against the Eagles. We'll do a segment later about last night's game, talking about it in the past tense. We'll get.
I do have one more bullshit or believe. This is not related to NFL at all. This is about the PGA. I don't know. I'm sure you know the news. The PGA is now allowing or going to allow the players to have equity in the PGA Tour. So I was wondering, do you know anything about this? Did you see that at all?
I didn't see this.
You didn't see that?
Cross your desk. A golf headline crossed your desk.
I don't know. So my bullshit or believe was, is this good to allow the PGA Tour to allow the players to own a piece of it? And I was going to say yes, but part of me almost feels like, well, no other league allows players to own anything, right? So it's like the NBA, you don't own your team. You're not own and it feels like, I don't know, almost it worried me a little bit because what does it become if all the players own it? Are they going to try new things? Are they going to do anything? I feel like when there's somebody controlling it at the top, it's like, we're going to make decisions and kind of move forward and expand it. I don't know if the players are going to want to do it as much because I feel like they'll get cushy. They own the league. What does that mean? Are they getting paid out from that? How are the players getting percentages? I don't know. I guess this is happening when they like finally do the Live PGA merger. But yeah, I don't really know much about it. That was the headline, and the article is very, very short, and there's not a lot of information. So this was just a headline, and who knows what's going to happen. But I don't think it's a good thing.
I didn't see the story, but it does seem like a natural progression to where we're going. Tom Brady is an NFL owner of the Raiders, and he's probably the best option at quarterback for the Raiders when you watch O'Connell, right? So we're not far off from that in the NFL in some way, shape, or form.
But he's not active. And I think that's the difference. It's like, if all these guys are active owning it, how do you get more ownership? Is it like working in a startup where every few years, a few more equity things, shares, vest into your pocket, like
based on performance? Like Mahomes should own a piece of the Chiefs. It's crazy that the Chiefs would sell all that merchandise and have all of those tentacles in all these different businesses, and Mahomes only gets his contract. I say only, he gets 200 some million. I'm sure he'll be okay with him and Brittany and the house and everything they have. But Mike, I think it's a natural progression, and he should own a piece of the Chiefs. I think LeBron should own a piece of the Lakers, and golf, to take it a step further, they're independent contractors. They don't actually work for any specific team like all these other athletes on team sports do work for the team. The golfers can really do what they want. So I think it makes sense.
Do you think, though, it will hurt the game? Not the game. Do you think it will hurt the PGA? Because think about it in NFL terms. If some guy owned a piece of the LA Rams 25 years ago, he's retired, he doesn't play anymore, he's not active. How many people are you going to give equity to until there's no equity left in the game? Or are you going to keep expanding and making more equity or splitting shares?
Well, you can't hand it out, right? Zach Wilson gets 0.0% equity of the Jets. Like, that's a given. Like, if you suck, you get no equity. If you're making strides for my team, you should be involved in the process. But the owner should always sign off on it. The Chiefs owner should say, Mahomes and Kelsey, you mean so much to me. Andy Reid, you mean so much. Get a piece.
I don't know.
If you're McCole Hardman, you're the 6th receiver. Why would you be involved in that conversation at all?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously the NFL is not going to work. PGA, they're going to figure it out. But it does seem weird, and I don't know how they're going to figure it out. Because then, is this a thing where NBA wants to own stuff? Do they want to get more of this? Are you not going to get paid as much up front? Are you only going to get paid half your salary and the other half is going to go into equity? Are you going to be able to do stuff with
If
it?
players and agents want to work those deals out, that's on them, right? They might actually make less over time than if they got a guaranteed 30 million or whatever it is.
Who's coming into the league? Was it Caleb Williams that wants to own a piece of the team?
That wants a piece. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think he has the power anymore, right? He's not.
He really does. He really hasn't. Mike, you segued perfectly. Let's do J-Dawg Takes On.
All right.
J-Dawg Takes On.
You mentioned both of my my little people who I'm going to attack here in J-Dawg Takes On. The first one, actually, I'm going to say this. They both reside in Los Angeles. Two LA quarterbacks that I am big mad at, that act like they want to take over the NFL, and they're actually not, and it's very clear they're not. The first one you mentioned earlier, chargering is a verb because of Brandon Staley, because they always choke, and because their quarterback, Justin Herbert, can't win a big game to save his life. I know he threw a deep ball down the sideline to Quentin Johnston. You can't tell me that one play that Johnston dropped is the difference between them winning and losing the game. You cannot go to Green Bay and let Jordan Love come back on you in the fourth quarter and not respond with more points to win. Jordan Love has had a terrible season, and Staley gets so much blame for the Chargers situation, and their defense gets so much blame, and they deserve it. Justin Herbert deserves it too. We can't leave him out of that conversation. So my first J-Dawg Takes On is Justin Herbert needs to step up or step out of the Chargers situation, because I'm sick. I'm sick of him being isolated from the criticism the Chargers get. I'll let you react to that first.
Do the Chargers actually make a move? Because that guy in the press conference, Staley, he was irritated. He's like, I'm making the calls. I'm doing this. I'm the one in charge here. That man's going to get fired soon because he can feel the heat under his ass that he's about to get fired. I agree something's weird because we all liked that he came in, right? Tyrod got punctured in his lungs, and Herbert got to step in. He got to step in, and everybody was like, wow, we're so surprised. He's actually pretty good. And that was nice. And it almost seemed like it lasted a little too long. Like, we have this leeway, like, oh, he wasn't supposed to start, and now he's in. And I don't know how long. What has he been there now? 4 years or something?
Yeah.
He's there now. He's a quarterback. He's technically a veteran quarterback. And their team just can't pull out those wins. And I think, I don't know where it starts, but something's got to switch. I mean, I know it's totally different, but the Jets just benched Zach Wilson, which I know he's bad, but would that help Herbert be like, hey, you got to step your shit up. Like, let's go do something.
I'm not saying he needs to be benched. He's one of the best 16 quarterbacks in the world, totally. But his record since coming into the NFL with the Chargers is a losing record. He's 29-30. When you think about Justin Herbert, you think of him in that class of just below Mahomes, like in a Josh Allen type class. And it turns out Josh Allen has won the division every year since he's been a starter with the Bills. And meanwhile, Justin Herbert has a losing record. So the difference is stark, and we cannot protect him on that.
Also, you got to say that division's pretty tough, right?
It's a different division. Yeah, but beat Mahomes once in your life. Like, try.
I know, but now they got Russ, and I mean, they used to have Jimmy G, but I don't know if Jimmy G is even going to be a quarterback next
year. The other guy I'm taking on here is another LA quarterback, Caleb Williams. Lost his 5th game of the season, 7-5. This is ridiculous. This is a guy, like you just said, he wants an equity stake in the NFL team that drafts him. His dad is saying we might not go to the number 1 team depending if we don't like that team. Maybe you should go back and play another year and get better. Maybe that's what you actually need to do in college football. To lose 5 games at USC in an era of free agency when they can pay anyone to come to LA and play college football, to lose so many games this year. And it's like the whole idea of Caleb Williams is to be the next great quarterback in the NFL, Mike. What do great quarterbacks in the NFL do? They make up for the rest of your team not being great. What did Tom Brady do year after year in New England? I know I'm talking about the greatest, but that's what Caleb Williams wants to be. What did he do? He protected all of their inefficiencies. If their defense let them down, if their offensive line let them down, if a receiver dropped the ball, no problem, because Tom Brady was going to figure it out and overcompensate for that. Caleb Williams can't even do that in college, let alone the NFL. So the idea that he's going to be this next great NFL quarterback, just stop until he proves that he can carry his own college team anywhere. It's making me mad.
So right now, if like the draft order fell, it was like Carolina, Arizona, Bears. I think Bears have like the 2 picks because of Carolina.
Yeah.
And then I know like New England's on there. But does this mean, I don't think all quarterbacks are going to go, because I think a statement came out today about Arizona. They're like, we're not going to take a quarterback. And I don't think the Bears are going to take a quarterback.
Kyler Murray looks good. I told you that last week. He looks good.
He does look good. So my question is, it seems like this will be loaded with quarterbacks. So in a way, it's like, does it really matter the position you're in, right? So if like Caleb, he wants to be first overall, he's probably not going to be first overall, because these teams are like, we're good at quarterback. We actually need offensive linemen or defensive guys or something to help us actually win some games other than the quarterback. So I think it's almost like such a stacked pool that everybody's going to have a shot. And we know a lot of first round picks, first overalls, do not go very well at all. Where was Zach Wilson picked?
Oh my God. Zach Wilson was second overall. So second overall is not always great either. But CJ Stroud was second overall, and he looks like the next Patrick Mahomes right now.
Yeah. So it's just, you never know. And I think it's like, even you could be a better grader in for college football than a lot of these guys that sit there for hours and be like, yeah, this is like Bryce Young. Like, yeah, definitely. Like, I'm curious to see this year when the draft comes. I want to see what your picks are, and we'll monitor, because you are Sportstradamus, so we know that you have some good picks.
And I love a good mock draft. You make a good point. So you bring that up, the number one overall pick. The Bears do have that number one overall pick. You watched that game yesterday on Red Zone. Justin Fields was beating the Lions in Detroit for much of that game. Who's to say that Caleb Williams can be better than that? I know that might sound crazy to people, but Justin Fields was a few plays away from beating the Lions in Detroit. The Lions might be the best team in the NFC. If the Eagles lose tonight, the Lions are probably the top team in that whole conference. I just think it's crazy to say that they will definitely take Caleb Williams and then definitely trade Justin Fields, because that might not be the best thing.
No, I do like the scenario where like guys come in, they get to learn the system, and they get come in. But like Brock Purdy, they didn't know he was going to start, last pick in the draft. He gets to come in, gets to play. But he knows the system, and it's almost similar. Like Tom Brady did the same thing, right? He came in after an injury. You need that time to get acclimated to the actual system and the game and the speed. And I think coming in as a rookie is really hard, and only a few guys can actually do it. And you can see Bryce Young, he's not doing very well. Zach Wilson's not doing very well. No. CJ Stroud's doing well, but it might be because he is so talented and so athletic. Like, his abilities are just so much better, or maybe he can process it better. I don't know what it is, but we'll see what happens.
I think for CJ Stroud specifically, his work ethic and leadership are just as great as his on-field play. And that's what's so rare in rookies and 21-year-old kids. We've heard stories about CJ Stroud texting his receivers pieces of film about routes that corners are jumping on the opposition team at like midnight during the week. So this guy is grinding on tape after he's in the facility all day, working out twice a day, getting his treatment. And then at midnight, he's still sending tape. Like, we're not working that hard on the podcast, Mike. We call it off by 8 p.m. Not even close to midnight.
Yeah, we might not even text the whole week and just be like, "Are you here? Are you showing up?"
So the leadership, the work ethic, that matters too. And it's like this whole combination of things. And how do you know a 21-year-old college kid is going to be good at all those things? We've seen the hotheads of the past, like Baker Mayfield, flame out in Cleveland. It's Josh Rosen. Where on earth is Josh Rosen? Put out APB.
I don't know where he is. Where is he?
Because you flame out if you don't have certain communication skills and leadership skills, and even if you're good physically. And so it's such a cocktail of things you need, and so many guys don't have it. And I don't know if Caleb Williams has it.
We'll find out soon. Do you want to do a little Scandal City?
Let's do it.
Time to dig up the dirtiest stories around the sport world in this week's Scandal City.
All right, so we have two Scandal Cities this week. Last one we mentioned last week, it was the F1 race in Vegas. And by all means, it went just as bad as we thought.
Firefest.
Yeah. People were saying it was Firefest. The practice track, when they were practicing, like manhole covers were flying off.
8 minutes into the first practice on Thursday night, manhole cover gets hit, car damage. They call it off. They kicked everyone out. If you had a ticket to Thursday night, which was the most affordable ticket, you saw 8 minutes of action. Anyway,
so some people have filed class action lawsuits against
35,000 people. Mike,
yeah, some people, a few people, a lot of people that like what's his name, Max Verstappen. I don't even know how to say the guy's name. Obviously, I don't watch F1.
The great F1 driver who won. He won the race, right?
Yeah. He said he described the race as 99% show, 1% is sporting event. And the problem with this is Vegas has signed a 10-year deal to have F1 in Vegas through 2032.
I didn't know that.
And it is not good. And the problem is, you're seeing all these videos on TikTok, like they banned and blocked every walkway. You know the little walkways? If you've never been to Vegas, there's walkways that go over the strip so you can get to the other hotels across the way. They blocked everything. You couldn't see. It's like, if you do not have a ticket, you are not allowed to watch this. And I think they messed up. It should have just been like, hey, if you get a ticket, you get these extra perks to watch the game, but also like get to enjoy it with maybe a little more space. They didn't do it the right way. Hopefully it's better next year, but all the videos, people were not happy. Like every day videos were coming out. It's like, this is a mess. Nothing's going right. I didn't watch the race, but I mean, it was happening late over here. It was like midnight over
Pacific time, 1 a.m. for me on the East Coast of Florida. It started at 1 a.m., so it ended at like 4 a.m. Eastern.
Way too late.
4 at that point.
Not us.
It's not for us. And so you're right. Max won the race, but he was criticizing it in the lead up. He talked about how F1 spends so much time on gimmick cities and gimmick tracks instead of just focusing on the racetrack. And then he's the one who wins, and he's like the best driver.
Yeah.
He's involved in all of the F1 drama from the series on Netflix. I know that. And so it was a huge debacle. They paid or people paid so much money to go, but then so many other people didn't. We saw reports of the Vegas airport was eerily quiet on Friday afternoon when normally it's very busy. We saw check-in lines at the Wynn and Bellagio and all the upscale places. No line on Friday at 5 p.m. when like we go to Vegas a good amount. We know there's always a line to check in.
Always a line.
You ever just walk up and check in. And this was the big F1 weekend.
I think they scared people away. I think it's like, don't come here. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a shit show. And I don't know if you saw the videos. The entire route back Sunday was shut down because of a sandstorm. And we've been through a sandstorm there
Vegas
before.
To LA?
The whole thing,
drive back.
They shut it down. They blocked off the roads. People started like trying the off-road and try to get through. They blocked it off. And that means probably flights were shut down too, because we've experienced where the flights were like all getting canceled. We're like, all right, we're just going to drive a car in and we're going to get there.
It seemed like a debacle in everywhere. Why limit something that's so new to the American audience? So F1 is new. People in Vegas, locals, they might not know much about it. They might not want to pay a ton of money, thousands of dollars for the tickets. Why limit that? Why put up the tape around those walkways like you said? Why hire security guards to push people away and keep them moving so they can't watch any action? The cars go by so fast and they disappear for 3 minutes until they come back anyway. That's how racing is. At least let them see really quick. The only positive.
We're clearly not F1 fans. It's like, oh, the cars just go by real fast.
Do we know any? I mean, I don't know any. If you find one, contact us on the Hangover Hotline.
I feel like people are like fake F1 the fans. They're like, I watched the Netflix series. I'm a big fan of that. I'm not a fan of it at all.
The only positive I saw in my 7 minutes of viewing on Saturday night at 2:30 a.m. Was the cars going around the Sphere. So that was cool because the Sphere is a big deal in Vegas. We're excited about the Sphere. And the cars were going right around it. And that was like a cool thing. Nothing else about this went well. I did not know it was a long-term deal. I did not know that. Even the week before, like Tarico was complaining traffic's already bad in Vegas. This was like a multi-week, maybe multi-month thing. And it seemed terrible that they had to keep doing it.
It seems so bad. I have one more scandal. This one's a little dicey. I don't even know if we want to talk on it too much, but basically ESPN went dark on Twitter over the weekend, and they went dark for a whole day. And I thought they were still dark, but they all went dark and pulled all advertising because of Elon Musk. Elon Musk was commenting some anti-Semitic stuff or just liking anti-Semitic stuff. It was not good, and people pulled it. And I don't know. And like when I was reading, like actually trying to do a little research, ESPN is back in posting. I don't know what's going on. But it seems like, is this finally, I've been calling for the end of Twitter for years. I thought it was going to come back. I think this might actually be the end of Twitter. I think that was like the last straw.
I mean, X is a really bad product without the anti-Semitic ruler in charge. And now he's commenting on things from his unique and terrible viewpoint. What I did see, I saw what you saw, is ESPN did not post for a full day, like all day Saturday during a ton of college football games. They normally be tweeting game day clips and all the things. They didn't post anything. And so I saw a lot of the same headlines where a lot of companies said that they pulled advertising. I think they went more than that. They stopped posting entirely, which is even more than pulling, advertised and sponsored tweets out of timelines. And so there was a huge backlash. I think backlashes are always loud at first, and then they quiet down, and then the companies come back. So we'll see what actually happens. We need a new social network that compiles all of news and information in one place. Some people say it's TikTok. When things are happening in real time, and I work in breaking news, so I have some experience with this. TikTok is not the quickest in breaking news. It takes like 24 hours to get like videos and the algorithm coming in. And so we don't have something for like a huge sports story, a huge news story. Where do you actually go when those things break?
Well, they're trying to push Threads, but Threads is not anywhere near. It's just like Instagram without photos, which
and you need mass adoption for these things. If only like 1% of people join Threads or join something new, what's the point of 99% of people?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I have a few scandal cities too. One, Thanksgiving travel, just a PSA to folks out there. This is scandalous for me. Stop crowding the gate if it's not your turn to board. What is going on out there? I was standing behind this guy in Atlanta Hartsfield Airport, the busiest airport in the world, on the busiest travel weekend of the world before Thanksgiving. And the guy is standing in front of the boarding gate, in front of the boarding line. He's not boarding. Yeah, everyone is queuing, is in line behind him thinking. And I'm like watching this, like, do I get involved even though I'm just watching this? And it's like, this is happening at airport gates around the world and we need to stop. So it's that one. And it's the jumping out of your seat as soon as you get to the gate after you board. Where the hell are you going? They're not opening that door. And if they are, you are not getting off of it before anyone in front of you. I don't care if you have a connection to make. Everyone has somewhere to go. And if your connection is close to leaving, that's on you, not them.
I'm going to say the boarding thing. I feel like people are always fighting for overhead space. So like if I'm, I'm zone 5, I got to get on first. It's like zone 5 is getting on last and you're probably going to have to check your bag. It's not good. People are just crazy on planes. It's not
people
fun.
I saw someone said it's so true. People lose IQ points when they enter airports. It's like you walk through the security and they zap the IQ right out of you because that's how people act in airports. You're so right about that.
How about this? Aaron was so concerned that I jumped the line because I already had my bag and I just like jumped, like somebody was like slowly getting out of their seat. I'm like, I'm getting off this goddamn plane. Like I'm not waiting for you.
You jumped, Mike?
I just like moved. Like this lady was trying to get up. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go. And I grabbed my bag, walked seamless, like so easy. She wasn't even out moving from the window yet. So I'm like, I'm going. Aaron's like, oh no, you shouldn't go. And then Aaron jumped too, forgot her bag on the plane. We had to sit there for 35 minutes waiting to the plane to deboard so she could go back. She was so flustered. She had to go. I was so irritated. I was like,
wow,
grab your bag.
I feel like this person you're talking about, he might be related
my
to,
wife.
She might have a history of leaving things on planes.
She leaves a lot of things on planes. She's lost.
Which again, she loses her IQ points when she goes through security. It's an amazing
laptops have been lost. It's bad. You got any more scandals? I got a lot of hotlines this week.
Let's get to the hotline.
Let me see. Where is? I can never find my sounds.
It's there. It's right. It's close by.
The hotline. There it is. Sounds like a. Okay. Well, it didn't reset from last week. All right. We put out a lot of videos last week. We are all over the place. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Check out our YouTube. It's popping. A lot of comments there. So Jeremy, I got a lot of comments about. First of all, there's one comment. Just blatantly, there's a video of Sam talking about gambling, and this person just said gorgeous man. So if you want to see a gorgeous man, I guess people really like Sam's face and not ours.
Wait a second. We've been doing this 14 years and we've never had a gorgeous man comment. And you bring our rich friend over for 2 podcasts and he gets a gorgeous man.
Yeah. He gets a gorgeous man.
Him off the show.
We got a lot of comments about the Texas A&M whatever scandal going on.
76 million. Yeah,
this guy, 30 cal guy, commented, dude, the university isn't paying that. The boosters are. They don't care what the buyout was. So the boosters are paying it supposedly from this random guy on the internet says that he knows how the money is.
Maybe they should care because if they use the 76 million wisely, they would hire a good coach. Like you could throw that at Nick Saban and he would come join your school because it's such a massive amount of money. But instead they make poor decisions and use that money to pay people to go away instead of attracting them, which will affect them in the future, attracting anyone good.
We have another comment. A lot of comments on the Aaron Rodgers faked his Achilles. A lot of comments here. A lot of dislikes on the video. One guy said, Norman, he said the NFL is all script. Ben said, did you all not see his Achilles literally ripping? And people are mad that we think this is a conspiracy. And yeah, we saw videos, guy, but we don't think it's real. He's coming back way too fast. Yeah. And I know Aaron Rodgers is even commenting on it, but it is way too fast. Like I get a calf sprain and I can't run for a week. So I can only imagine what an Achilles tear would be like.
And this man is older than you. And speaking of the script, I'll mention the script writers are so good at this that they're actually going to put the Jets out of contention before Aaron Rodgers can ever come back. And then he's going to come back and like bring them all the way because they're 4-6. They're heading toward 4-7 with the Dolphins in town this week with Boyle starting. So I think they're gonna go. It's gonna be at 4-9, and then Rodgers is gonna come in, run the table, make the playoffs at 8-9. So it's getting real good, guys. Stay tuned for that.
We also have, I mentioned about me being the football commissioner and changing the rules with an in-season draft. A lot of people didn't like that. This guy said people would just tank the in-season tournament, but I like the overall idea. This is the only positive one. I'm not going to read all the negative comments that I got on it, but people did not like my idea of in-season tournament. But that's some of the comments. So go comment. This is YouTube, TikTok. I read them all. A lot of fun. There's some also Kyler Murray ones, but this guy put like a paragraph of Kyler Murray's stats from like
supporting college. Kyler or not supporting Kyler?
I'll read some of it. Murray's a top 10 quarterback, just needs to add talent around him. I mean, he was in the MVP race in 2020-21, 2-year Pro Bowl. This guy basically lists, I think he
was criticizing you because I was defending Kyler Murray last week. You said, no, he was rusty. He had one good run. He's not back yet. And now all of a sudden the Cardinals are not taking a quarterback in the next draft. So I think it's pretty clear.
So he's back. All right. Do you want to do a little gambling? It's Thursday. A lot of stuff going on.
It's Monday, but we have 3 games Thursday, 1 game Friday. Maybe we talk about some of the early week games.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Here we go.
If money talks, then I got a lot to say. I'm on the grind trying to make 100,000.
Okay, we have Thursday games going. I have tons of stats for Thursday, so I'm gonna read some of these stats. We can talk about Thursday games. I have 4 games I like, 2 on Thursday, 2 on Sunday. Here's some Thanksgiving stats. So keep your ears open here. So these are trends since 2005. The Lions are 6-10 against the spread on Thanksgiving. Cowboys are also 6-10 against the spread.
But both teams are better this year than normal. I'll mention that.
Correct. And so we'll see what's going on this year. The favorites are 32-14 against the spread. So that's 70%. I have non-Dallas faves. So I guess I'm guessing that's not, I don't know what we wrote here.
The Dallas opponent, maybe?
Yeah. 27-7 against the spread. So I guess I'm guessing that's a not favorite, so a dog. So that could be Washington this week.
It sounds like the Cowboys often come up short of covering on Thanksgiving. A lot of expectations on them, probably a lot of public money coming in because everyone's watching the game, and they rarely cover. And this week, Commanders Cowboys 10.5. I'm seeing on the Dallas side. That might be juicy on Commanders.
I have 3 more public faves with 57% of the money. On the spread, they go 24-7 against the spread, so 77%, I guess, with the spread bets. But
public money is correct on Thanksgiving, you're saying?
Seems like it. And then a touchdown faves are 16-3 against the spread and cover by 8 points. That's 84% on Thursday games. I know we also have a Friday game this week.
Well,
and then
I'm seeing 3 of the 4 games have spreads more than 7.
I know. And then night faves are 10-4 against the spread.
Well, you can't fade the Seahawks like you've been doing then.
I know. Well, I might this week. Who knows? But all right. So this week, the one game I wanted to talk about was San Francisco and Seattle.
It's a good game. I'm glad we have a good one to end the day.
So Geno Smith got hurt. I doubt he comes back and plays. I don't think Drew Lock is the guy that's going to take them and win against San Francisco with their defense. I know this is a division game. You should take division dog. But if Geno Smith isn't playing or if he's injured, I think taking the 7 points, if it stays at 7, I would take the touchdown and play against Seattle this week.
If Drew Lock plays, it's not going to stay at 7, right? I think we can agree on that.
I think the line might already be built in with him not playing because that injury, it was a big hit. I don't know. But
Geno came back. From what I understand, Drew Lock threw an interception, looked really bad, and Pete was like, "Nah, dog, Geno, you need to get back in there."
Yeah, but after when you fall or something, it's like that day you're like, oh, I'm fine, I can walk. And the next day you're like, I can't even get up. Yeah. Like, what's wrong with me? I think he only has a few days to recover.
So you think Geno's out on Thursday? It's Monday night as we record this. Folks are probably listening on Tuesday or Wednesday. I think Geno might still play. So that changes the line a lot. If Geno plays and that line is around 7, I love Seattle at home to cover. It's a short week. The Niners have been playing well, but again, it's a short week for them and they might not be ready for this. And Seahawks are so good at home.
Washington at Dallas. So this is, let's just start at the top. First game of the day is Green Bay at Detroit. Detroit's -7.5. Listen, last week, I don't know if you were playing like pick'ems or anything like that. There were a lot of weird games. Washington lost to New York with Tommy DeVito. That was bad.
I almost was on the Giants side of that. Really close to that.
Should have. And so I don't know this week. It's tough. Green Bay is bad. I watch that game and I'm always like, what is happening? How is this a real quarterback? Lions are good, but it seems like there's like some sort of flaw where they play down to their opponent. So if this stays at 7.5, maybe if you go to like 8.5, I would kind of jump on Green Bay. I don't want to bet this game, at least in the contest. I will 100% be gambling on all the games on Thursday because what's better than ending the day with tons of money if you win all these? You just have to pick 3 games, and you're a winner that day.
Nothing's guaranteed. You might end the day super full and sick of family and poor. So that's also a possibility here on Thanksgiving. The Lions have been so bad, Mike, for so many years. Now that they're actually good, on Thanksgiving, I feel like they're going to want to put on a show. I think they're going to rise up and not fall to the level of their competition. They probably struggled against the Bears thinking about the show they're going to put on Thanksgiving Day. I love the Lions side of it, maybe in the actual contest.
Wow. All right. Washington at Dallas. Dallas is a favorite of -10.5. This is a division game. I like a division dog. I like Sam Howell. I don't think he's as bad as he looked against the Giants. I don't know why he played bad against the Giants, but good teams he plays really well against. I think he plays well here. I don't believe in Dallas at all. And they also started kind of slow against Carolina. Like
They
little
did, but
weird.
then they covered in a big way. And they've been covering. They lost to Josh Dobbs and the
know.
Cardinals, and that was weird. But since then, I feel like they've covered every time they've had a big point spread lately.
I know. And I just can't keep continuing. Like, this is unbelievable. And I said I had to change my ways and think and take favorites. I've been taking favorites. I've been picking the wrong ones every week.
Were you on Cowboys yesterday?
No, I should have been. I was on Miami. Everybody ended up being on Miami. I also jumped off of Pittsburgh because everybody that I follow and listen to jumped on the Browns. And I'm like, what am I missing?
Not at 4.5.
No, it was
not the Watson line.
They got him at 2.5, but I still got worried. I'm like, what's going on? I'm missing something, and I didn't know what it was. So I had to stay off. It scared me too much.
Are we getting back on the Dolphins on Friday against the Jets? With Tim Boyle playing quarterback?
Yes. I think the news when I looked at these lines, that was not the case, that a random backup. I don't know who is this guy, a rookie, or who is he? Do you know anything about?
He's just an anonymous. He's probably like a dentist or something previously, because we'd never heard of him.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I feel good about that, but the problem is when I think about these games, do not worry. Like, oh, we're all honest. Like, everybody in the league was on Miami, didn't cover. And this is another game where I'm like, maybe you should try to take the other side. When it seems too easy, it's got to be too easy. Like, Vegas doesn't just put up easy lines like that. So,
well, what Vegas is slow to adjust on certain things. For example, the Antonio Pierce-led Raiders have covered in all 3 games since he took over the Raiders. And so maybe we should have seen that coming against Miami. What might they also be slow on? How bad Tim Boyle is, because they haven't seen him yet. And he thought Zach Wilson was really bad, and Tim Boyle might be even worse, and they might not have the line big enough for this game. Just like if Drew Lock plays for the Seahawks, that line might not be big enough because I know he's looked good in spurts, but not against the San Francisco.
Yeah, he's not. He's a great backup. Yeah, it's a tough spread. And I don't know, the Miami Jets game, it's like, do I really want to bet on it? Do I really want, it seems like a terrible Black Friday game. I guess in theory it could have been Aaron Rodgers versus
Rodgers and Tua. Exactly.
It's not, but it's weird too. It starts at 10 a.m. on the West Coast. I wish it was later
false
in the
advertising. That's the pregame show. Starts at 12 noon your time, 3 o'clock Eastern. I know.
I hate that because I kept seeing it's like 1 p.m.
I know.
It starts that early.
And you know what's the ironic thing about 1 p.m.? It's the host of that show is Carissa Thompson, the biggest scandal of the week, which we didn't even mention. But we will talk about that in the future because she hosts the Amazon pregame show that starts at 10 a.m.
First of all, I don't mind her making stuff up on the sideline if coaches don't want to talk.
Of course you don't. You're not a journalist. I am a journalist. I am the big J journalist of this show, and I think it's ridiculous, and she should be penalized in some way.
Hold on. Do you think that her just like, oh yeah, he said like they really got to play a lot harder? Is that really journalism, or is that just an interview and she couldn't get in?
Yeah, she's saying something that he didn't say. That's lying. That's giving credit. The media is under attack right now for being false. Can we at least not feed into that narrative and stop being blatantly false and at least try to tell the truth just a little bit? Mike, isn't that what you want from the media? Don't you want the truth? Don't you want to stop the lies?
Yeah, we want the truth, but the problem is everybody has opinions and views, and there's no pure news anymore. Everything has a side or a take. And we've seen that everywhere. There's a lot of shit going on in the world, and everybody's got side. I mean, even like the weirdest shit I don't know if you've seen this as a trend. Have you seen the people in America saying that they just found the Osama bin Laden letters to America and they are loving Osama bin Laden? This is what is it is crazy.
Everywhere. I know.
This is weird propaganda going on. I'm not saying Carissa Thompson's doing it.
I think I'm saying Carissa Thompson is giving us propaganda from coaches. I want to know which coaches she lied about, which halftime report she lied about, and why she's still employed today in a very prominent position unpenalized. And what I also really liked was all the sideline reporter sisters of the world. They all rallied around and said, you are wrong for this. They all stood up against her, which I thought was really good. The Lisa Salters, Michelle Tafoya, Melissa Stark, Molly McGrath, all these top sideline reporters said that's wrong.
Not Aaron Andrews, though, right? Because they do a podcast together.
Right. And Aaron Andrews may have lied in the past, too, which was also on a past clip of their own podcast. We're going way down the rabbit hole here. But she may have also lied, and she might also face some criticism on all this.
All right. Okay. All right. You're heated. All right. I'm talking to Sam this week. We can talk about the rest of the games with Sam.
Okay.
He'll throw you all the stats. Also, I'm going to put this out here. I'm going to put up, I told you I made this bot, the super contest bot that will give you information on games. It has been really helpful for like quick information. I asked it questions, and first it told me Frank Wright was doing the play calling, so I stayed off Carolina altogether. That made me want to stay off, but it seems insightful if you can ask the right questions. I'm going to put a link on the website so people can use the tool on the website.
You're giving it out. That's big.
Give it out. It's not going to give you like winners and losers, but you have to ask it the right question to get the right answers and see and research. It has a ton of data sets I put into it. It is ready. It's so cool. It's a lot of fun to play around with.
All right, let's test it out.
Check out thesportshangover.com. You got anything else? Are we done?
We're good. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the games. Go Dolphins on Black Friday.
See ya.